623, 14 November 2020. This is number 2. From the Washington Examiner. Democratic senators warned of potential vote switching by Dominion voting machines prior to the 2020 election. Imagine that. In a December 2019, so not even a year ago. In a December 2019 letter to Dominion Voting Systems, which has been mired in controversy after a human error involving its machines in Antrim County, Michigan resulted in incorrect counts, Democratic Senators Elizabeth Warren, Ron Wyden, and Amy Klobuchar, and Congressman Mike Pocan warned about reports of machines switching votes, undisclosed vulnerabilities, and improbable results that will threaten the integrity of our elections. This is a quote from the letter. In 2018 alone, voters in South Carolina were reporting machines that switched their votes after they'd inputted them. Scanners were rejecting paper ballots in Missouri, and busted machines were causing long lines in Indiana. In addition, researchers recently uncovered previously undisclosed vulnerabilities in nearly 36 back-end election systems in 10 states. And just this year, after the Democratic candidate's electronic tally showed he received an improbable 164 votes out of 55,000 cast in a Pennsylvania state judicial election in 2019, the county's Republican chairwoman said, "Nothing went right on election day. Everything went wrong. That's a problem. These problems threaten the integrity of our elections and demonstrate the importance of election systems that are strong, durable, and not vulnerable to attack," said the Democrats. From Breitbart. A letter was sent, the one that I previously mentioned, was sent on December 6, 2019 to 3 private equity firms taking issue with, quote, vulnerabilities and a lack of transparency in the election technology industry and the poor condition of voting machines and other election technology equipment, Warren's office said of the letter. The letter sought information about what role the firms had in perpetuating the technology issues. The letter was sent to the following: HIG Capital, investing in Hart Intercivic; McCarthy Group, investing in election systems and software; and Staple Street Capital, investing in Dominion Voting Systems. At the time, those 3 voting technology companies facilitated 90% of voters, the letter noted, citing the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. Today, election systems and software and Dominion Voting Systems facilitate more than 3/4 of voters, while Hart Intercivic was, quote, quietly sold, end quote, by its owner, HIG Capital, in April of this year, according to an October 28, 2020 report from the Wall Street Journal, which also cited Wharton School. Warren told the Journal in an email, quote, private equity firms have taken over nearly all of the nation's election technology, and how they do business is clouded in secrecy. Staple Street Capital, which purchased Dominion in 2018, reportedly partially responded to the Democrats' letter at the time, while the other 2 firms did not respond. Dominion issued a vehement statement on Friday, fully rejecting various accusations that have been circulating about the company since the election. Dominion said that it categorically denies false assertions about vote switching issues with our voting systems, that the company is nonpartisan, and that assertions of voter fraud conspiracies are 100% false. Did the US raid European software company Seidel and seize their servers in Germany? This particular intel source says yes, it happened. Representative Louis Gohmert told Chris Salcido at Newsmax that people on the ground in Germany report that Seidel, which hosted elections data improperly through Spain, was raided by a large U.S. Army, it says Army in capitals, force, and their servers were seized in Frankfurt. Andrea Woodberg at American Thinker earlier reported that Seidel is a Barcelona-based company that provides electronic voting systems worldwide, many of which have proven vulnerable to electronic manipulation. Seidel has or had Soros and Democrat Party connections. I haven't looked into that yet. I may. Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen's Vulcan Capital has invested $40 million in Seidel. They also learned from their source that Bill Gates also owns stocks in Seidel. From their source, the US government, once they determined that this Dominion server was involved in switching votes, then the intelligence community began a search for the server and discovered that the server for the Dominion machines that were switching votes was located in Germany. In order to get access to that server and have it available for use in a legal manner, they had to have the State Department work in tandem with the Department of Justice. They had to request that the government of Germany cooperate in allowing the seizure of its server. The appropriate documents required to effect that kind of seizure were put into place, signed off on, and it appears that there was also U.S. military support in the operation. The U.S. military was not in the lead, but this helps explain why Esper was fired, and Miller and Kash Patel were put in place so that the military would not interfere with operations in any way. By getting a hold of the server, they now are going to have the direct evidence of when they were instructed to stop counting. They will also discover who gave the direction to stop counting and who initiated the algorithm that started switching votes. The CIA was completely excluded from this operation. Trump attorney Lin Wood weighed in on this report. Biden and his criminal cronies are not going to sleep well tonight. Well, Biden might, because he probably forgot the name Seidel. His co-conspirators know the name well. They also know the name Paragon, the company which purchased Seidel in October 2020. And it simply says everything will be revealed. So, from Blacklisted News and their source, Great Game India, days after it was revealed how the 2020 US elections were rigged by Canadian Crown agent Dominion voting systems through a so-called glitch, now Great Game India has found involvement of another dubious foreign company in US election meddling. The votes cast by Americans were counted by a bankrupted Spanish company, Seidel, in Spain, or at least the Spanish company is located in Spain. Of course, we know the server was located in Germany. Like Dominion voting systems, Seidel has a long history of election fraud in various nations, including injecting backdoors in its election software. The issue has prompted experts to question why the sensitive job of counting votes was outsourced to a foreign company. How could a bankrupted Spanish company count American votes in Spain? Well, as we know, the server was in Germany. Due to such widespread fraud, the chairman of the U.S. Federal Election Commission, Trey Traynor, believes that the 2020 U.S. presidential elections is illegitimate. Many American states commissioned a foreign company based in Spain to provide various election services, including online voting in the 2020 presidential election. Seidel, a Spanish company headquartered in Barcelona, offering a suite of election services, has been used by various states and cities in several ways since 2008. Forbes reported in 2017, founded in 2001 in Spain, Seidel organized 12 statewide implementations, and its technologies were used in another 980 U.S. jurisdictions in 28 states during the 2016 general election. Specializing in online voting and election solutions, the company's products include online voter registration services, poll worker management, and electronic ballot delivery. Its online voting services employ end-to-end encryption, vote return cords, and a bulletin board audit service. In January 2012, the company bought SOE Software. Seidel also holds more than 40 patents and patent applications. In 2008, the company became the first online voting company to receive certification from the Florida Department of State. Ooh, rah-rah. Seidel's website shares an overview of election services it provides to government clients in the U.S. Seidel has successfully delivered electronic modernization projects in the U.S. since 2008, and most recently for the 2018 midterm elections, when over 70 million voters from more than 900 U.S. counties successfully leveraged Seidel's technology. Also during the 2016 U.S. presidential election, Seidel's technology provided over 53 million registered voters and thousands of election staff across 28 states the benefits of more efficient, scalable, and accessible election processes, consolidating Seidel as the leading election modernization provider in the United States. Seidel has been the center of controversy in the past for misuse of European Union funds and mishap with an election. Seidel received large amounts of research funds from the Spanish government, which, reporting by Republic shows, was used in ways contrary to what had been stipulated. Instead of spending it on cooperative work with universities, Seidel used it to stock up its product team and develop new prototypes for its customers. An injection of over 1.5 million euros from Spain's Ministry of Industry was, according to an internal document seen by Republic, used for, among other things, a product demo for Neuchatel, Neuchatel, and 900,000 euros in EU funds were spent on the development of software modules for Ecuadorian election authorities. A so-called computer glitch in the voting machines flipping votes during the 2020 elections has caused a major, as I heard it once, a major controversy. The source and ownership of the voting machines used in the elections has become an urgent issue because of real fears that hackers, whether foreign or domestic, might tamper with the mechanics of the voting system. However, Great Game Media has found that the vendors and not hackers may be hiding the rigging, may be behind the rigging. No kidding, you think? One of the vendors, a Denver-based Canadian Crown agent company, Dominion Voting Systems, has a long history of allegations of election rigging and interference in elections in various nations, including census data theft in India and interference in U.S. elections of 2020. No kidding. The issue has prompted experts to question why the sensitive job of counting votes was outsourced to a foreign company. How could a bankrupted Spanish company count American votes in Spain? Well, they didn't. It was processed through a server in Germany. Due to such widespread fraud, the chairman of the U.S. Federal Election Commission, Trey Traynor, believes the U.S. presidential elections is illegitimate. I read that before. Lastly, from American Wire, Andrew Weissmann, a top prosecutor on the special counsel's investigation, suggested on Monday that President Donald Trump fired his Secretary of Defense in order to pull off a military coup and remain in office. Because earlier on Monday, Trump fired Mark Esper as Pentagon chief, replacing him with Christopher Miller, the director for the National Counterterrorism Center, or NCTC. Weissmann asserted on Twitter that Trump had installed a flunky that might allow him to remain in power despite losing the 2020 election to Biden. The Senate confirmed Miller, a former Army Green Beret, as director of NCTC in August. The Associated Press and other news outlets projected on Saturday that Biden will win the Electoral College vote over Trump. Weissmann said that Trump's firing of Esper was serious, though he offered no evidence that the president is setting the stage for a military coup to remain in office. Quote, "To have a successful coup, a leader must control the military," wrote Weissmann, who is now an analyst at MSNBC. Weissmann, the former chief of the Justice Department's fraud section, led the investigation into former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. Republicans cited Weissmann's role as evidence of political bias in the special counsel's probe. Weissmann attended an election night party for Hillary Clinton in 2016. He also contributed to Democrats' political campaigns. Weissmann also suggested without evidence that Trump is holding on to power because he fears federal prosecution once he leaves. Quote, "For those chalking up Trump's denials that he lost the election to pathology and being a sore loser, remember also that Trump will no longer enjoy immunity from federal prosecution on January 20, 2021, Weissmann wrote earlier on Monday. How about if we wait to see what the hard drive of the actually to see what the servers hold. The servers from Germany. That's it for this one. 623 out.